Okay. Okay. Hello and welcome everyone. Hi Henrietta. Hi Jennifer.
Hello.
Hi everyone.
Hi. Thanks for joining us today for our Harmony Week webinar. We're really glad you're here with us. We just want to start with an acknowledgement to country and say that we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people. We'd all like to offer our respects to elders past and present, honouring their continuing connection to land, waters, and community, and to First Nations people everywhere in the spirit of reconciliation. So, my name is Belinda Smith. I'm a parenting facilitator with Meerilinga. We promote connected parenting. We work here in Perth in a variety of centres, and our parenting service works with parents in the Southwest Metro region to support families to thrive. Henrietta, you want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Henrietta, and I'm the chair for Multilingual Australia, an organization that is supporting families and community members to maintain their languages at home.
Hi everyone, I'm Jen Donovan. I'm an education officer with the Better Beginnings team at the State Library of Western Australia. So today I'm here at the State Library, and the Better Beginnings program is a family literacy program which runs statewide for all families in Western Australia, and we do that in close collaboration with local public libraries.
Beautiful, thank you so much. So we're doing a webinar today as part of Harmony Week. Jen, you have such a beautiful spiel about Harmony Week. Do you want to tell everyone about what Harmony Week's all about?
Sure, yeah. So Harmony Week is just about recognizing that, here in Australia, it's a very diverse and multicultural community. And so the Harmony Week theme is called Everyone Belongs. And it's just about really recognizing that everyone is unique and comes from different backgrounds and cultures, but together, we all share a lot of similarities, and we're all part of this beautiful country.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jen. So today's workshop has got 3 parts. I'll be taking the first, looking at brain growth and development in the first 5 years. Henrietta's going to look at the importance sorry about that. Let me just go backwards. Looking at the importance of second language speaking, and Jen is going to talk about the Better Beginnings message and how it links to early literacy. There will be time at the end for Q&A for those who are attending in person, and for those who are listening in at home, please feel free to send us a message with any questions you've got or get in contact. We'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to start with this first topic, the child's developing brain from 0 to 5. This is something I'm really passionate about because research, particularly in the last 30 years or so, has really shown us the importance of the first 5 years. And in fact, the first 1,000 days from conception through to about age 2 is so important. We know that brain architecture is slowly but surely built over time, and it isn't fully developed until the mid to late 20s. Knowing more about how your child's brain grows will help you to understand your child. It's really going to support you a great deal. And while you're listening in, you may like to have a little think about where your child's at in that scope of development from pre-birth right through till the mid to late 20s, and consider their brain development and where they might be at. So thinking, reasoning, logic, impulse control, and other executive functions is what we call, are really limited, as you probably know, as a parent in the early years. It's difficult for them to link their feelings, thoughts, and behaviours. And in fact, we say they're really creatures of feeling, particularly in the first 4 years or so. So it's very helpful if we are aware of this and are there to help them manage their feelings and to understand the needs behind their behaviours, seeing their behaviours as a form of communication. Understanding how children's brains develop gives us insight into the kinds of questions that I hear asked all the time. Why is my child doing this? Why don't they listen? Why do I have to repeat myself over and over and over? So once we understand what's going on with brain development, these questions can change a little bit and turn into, what does my child need? How can I help? So onto the second slide. Here's a lovely image from the Australian Childhood Foundation, which is a great resource with lots of free information for parents. And we can see that a child's brain develops from the bottom up. So the brain stem is the first part to develop, and it's in charge of basic survival functions, those automated systems like the heartbeat and breathing, and it's fully developed at birth. The movement centre develops over the first few years, and built in around these is the limbic system, the emotional centre, which rules children for up to 4 years, but I would say is super important in the life of all humans and has a big impact on how we operate in the world. The last part to develop is the cortex, the thinking part, and this is the part we love as parents, where our children are able to be reasonable, thoughtful, share, all those lovely things. But it's actually a tricky thing for them to access. And that's why our job is so important, because we're building the foundations from the brainstem up so that that thinking part can really develop with strength. So you are the sculptor of your child's growing brain. You are really your child's first and most important teacher. Young brains, we know, are super sensitive to experience, and those early experiences and environments have a very strong influence on the development of children's brains. It's like an elephant stepping in the ground versus a human. That is a much stronger imprint. So this is why families help shape the biological structure of children's brains, and it's why supportive, caring and consistent relationships between children and their parents are the key to healthy brain development. Now, this doesn't have to be highfalutin. It doesn't have to be tricky and scary. It can be very, very simple. And humans have been doing this all the way through our history. And this is why games such as peekaboo have been around forever, because practice and repetition as your child acquires new skills helps strengthen brain connections. So there's something called object permanence that children are starting to get the hang of from between 6 and 9 months, and they're really developing over that first couple of years. And peekaboo helps them figure this out. So understanding that things exist when we can't see them. So that's a simple game you can play with your child, or hide and seek is another one. It's as simple as that to build their brains. Talking to and reading to your child from infancy is really important. A very simple, fun game can be to take your baby and say, let's go on a journey to the centre of mum's wardrobe. Oh, what beautiful fabrics we have here, and sort of stroke their faces with the different fabrics. Even the youngest babies will love hearing your voice, love having that sensation. Another really simple game to build their brains. Touching, holding, comforting, reading, singing and talking to young children provides exactly what they need to grow their brains. One of my favourites is the Nappy Change song, which is from a storybook, and it's just a simple song that you can sing to your baby as you change their nappy. I would love to send this out to you. I won't sing it now. And I would suggest that you find some simple songs to sing with your baby through those routine things that you do 5-10 times a day. That routine and ritual will build in spaces for you to help build their beautiful brains. And just play as much as you can is a great thing to do to help support your child's development. There's so many fun games you can be playing with them. One of my favourites is, and this works for children right through the age spans, but just to say, oh, I've got you and you can't get away. And then, of course, they miraculously escape. And you say, oh, how did you do that? Oh, my goodness. So these beautiful interactions really do a powerful job of providing that supportive, caring, consistent relationship between you that are the key to healthy brain development. So it really is as simple as that. And you're already probably doing so much of this. So thank you so much for all your hard work as a parent. Children need lots of connection to thrive, and parents need a lot of support to do this challenging, complex work. Meerilinga offers workshops and one-to-one sessions to support you, and I'd love to be in contact with you in the future. So now we're on to topic 2. Henrietta, love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, and I'm so grateful to being here because I absolutely love talking to our families. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Aboriginal people of the Noongar Nation, because we're working mostly on their land. And I also would like to acknowledge that before the British colonizations, we had over 400 indigenous languages that existed here for over 65,000 years. So for those parents who have been told they speak only English to their child, or unfortunately hit a monolingual barrier at times, just to let you know, we're carrying a legacy that is over and above 65,000 years old with being multilingual on this land. So next slide, please. Thank you so much. So what is bilingualism? And it's really important because what we experience with our families is sometimes families think that it's either or, like they have to be fully proficient in everything or they are not bilingual. And in fact, bilingualism is like a rainbow. And your child can move on that rainbow in any direction during their lifetime, and especially teenagehood is a quite challenging one because obviously priorities and who we are listening to changes. So keep maintaining that interest in the languages can be a little bit challenging at that times, but not impossible. So firstly, bilingualism can be acquired from birth, which is called the simultaneously language acquisition, or sequential language acquisition, meaning you learn it later in life. Of course, children learn better languages as the younger they are. Their little brains are like sponges, but it doesn't mean they cannot reconnect with their heritage language later on. And also, this is what I'm saying to the families, because they're coming with a lot of angst and anxiety. Am I doing the right thing? Is it the right way to do? Am I trying my thing? My child is challenging me. So I'm hearing all those issues. But what I say is I'm doing this for the last 3 years, and I talk to dozens of Australians who've grown up here, either as a first or second generation, who had a heritage language connection. And not one of them said, you know what, I'm so glad my parents never tried. I always met with either immense gratitude or loss and grief. So even when it's really hard times, language can be acquired later on. And as long as we're providing them with that fertile ground, a lot of exposure, as well as opportunities to reconnect or connect, is what really important. Also, being a proficient bilingual or proficiency in bilingualism is also a degree. You can have passive bilingual, so they understand a couple of words, but not able to respond, as well as literal bilinguals when they're able to function in all 4 domains: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Next slide, please. And then there is the strategies. One of the things that I always talk about with families is that strategies do not come naturally. Now, I'm not sure who is listening today, and I hope there's a few multilingual and bilinguals here, but even if you're monolingual, just imagine this environment that you've grown up with. Most of us started in a monolingual environment. My parents never had to do anything to teach me Hungarian because it was surrounded by me. So I actually came from a monolingual background, and I was monolingual until I came to Australia. I had to learn English to communicate here. And my situation with my son, who is now a trilingual child, is very different. So I purposefully had to choose strategies to make sure that he can maintain our languages. My husband is Polish, I'm Hungarian. So this is why it's so important. But there's no one strategy because there's no one family that has the same circumstances and the same reasoning and the same language. And, a majority language here in Australia is English with the Roman alphabet. So what it means is some languages are very diverse from that. So they may have additional issues in regards to maintaining that language. So there's definitely no one strategy fits all, but this 4 is the main one. One parent, one language, which is what we do in my household. I'm responsible for Hungarian. My mother-in-law is for Polish. Free alteration. So with reader finding opportunities to connect and motivate the child to, for example, games. So they can only play a game in that certain language or read, for example, comic books in certain language. So you're giving them free alteration of and also reason to use that language. Minority language at home is quite common, but it needs to be treated with utmost care because in Australia, the benefits of bilingualism is what really need to be emphasized. So it's English and the home language or languages together is when the child is thriving. If it's either or, which is the isolation strategies that we're seeing with a lot of the families, when they don't know what alternative options are, unfortunately, isolating the child from English later on can cause a lot of issues academically, as well as isolating the child from the heritage language because they should learn English because they are ashamed of the accent. Then also could be a long-term identity and self-esteem issues for the child. So this is why minority language at home is actually one of the most successful way of passing on language, but also the one that needs to be taken care of the most, because it can lead down to roads that people don't want to go down. As well as language, one language first. So you're teaching that again. We're teaching the heritage language first, then English. Just need to be in mind that the child needs to speak good English by the time they go to school. Otherwise, we know that they're going to suffer. Next slide. Yes, and obviously the benefits. I'm pretty sure I don't have to say it. If you're somebody like myself trying to pass on the language, connections to the family, appreciating heritage and culture of other cultures is so important, as well as for personal development. I really think we are underestimating our bilinguals and multilinguals in this country. Last week, I just had a radio discussion in Hungarian about our beautiful state, Western Australia, and I was inviting other Hungarians to come over from the East or from Hungary to live, to visit, to be tourists, to work here, because I love so much the state, and I was able to do this in my own mother language, which was a very powerful motivator. And I really think we should look at how bilingualism and multilingualism can benefit. I know a lawyer who is helping people from overseas to do legal documents on their language, and there's so many numerous other benefits that we're hearing from the families that has a longer term positive impact on the person. Obviously, it comes with challenges. So those are some of the challenges that we have been encountered through the families. Obviously, motivation is a really big thing. Just imagine that you're learning a new language. You also need to be motivated to do so. Otherwise, it's so easy just to put it down and not worrying about it. So your child is very similar to that, especially if that language is the second or third. So having a good plan, having a good motivation and resources built around that language is so critical, because especially with children, they can lose interest and they may not understand why this is happening. But as I said, be flexible with that plan, because their stages of life changes sometimes so quickly, as well as the long-term goal is that the child will never ever regret to have that language in their lives, and we need to provide them opportunities to reconnect or connect at any time of their stage. One of the things I wanted to mention is possibly the siblings, which is a big problem. So if that happens, it's usually because the siblings have different language skills levels, so one of them may feel a little bit left behind than the other. So they are really good at reverting to English because it's easier, because it's quicker. So providing a little bit more individual, motivations for the children to speak that language can help that. But there's other stuff that you can do. So we have a workshop around that too. Next slide, please. And yeah, so this is the 5-step that we tell every single family that comes to us. Make sure that you choose your language strategy or policy that aligns your values and goals. Why your child needs to learn that language is really critical question. And if it's because I want them to connect to themselves and their heritage, a very valid reason. It's just making sure that that's very clearly communicated to the child, especially as their age, and they will take that value and goals on as well. Second is create a language-rich environment at home as well as in the community, and provide them plenty of opportunities to be connected with that language, immerse themselves, and to play with that language, because that's so important to have fun. Again, practice is really important, and don't forget to maintain your own language skills, because we are the biggest, role models for our children, and often than not, we also neglect our own languages. So just make sure you look after yourself as too. Reach out and look for resources, as well as encourage everybody around yourself, including yourself, to use the languages at home. Thank you so much. And if there's any questions, we also actually have a free community group on Facebook. So please join in. You can ask questions and we can have discussions there, as well as follow us and check out our website for more information. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Belinda and Henrietta. So hopefully your brain is really buzzing by now. And yeah, we really hope perhaps that some of the things that have been talked about have given you some consolidation and some confidence about the things you're already doing. And perhaps there's been some seeds planted for some different ideas as well. So I'm the last one here, and you're going to hear me echo a lot of what Belinda and Henrietta have already said. And that's one of the reasons we all decided to get together for this webinar, because, you know, we share a lot of the same key messages and we're all really saying the same things. So it's my chance now to, again, just with this first little quote, I remember Belinda said something along these lines as well already. So it's the parent or the caregiver, not the library, who has the most influence on a child's early literacy development. You are present and with your child from the day that they're born. And so you have the opportunity to support their brain growth and development from that, you know, from day one, basically. You don't want to wait until your child gets to school, you know, and miss that opportunity, as Belinda mentioned, about the brain growing so much in that 0 to 5 range. So there is so much you can do. And again, all the things that Henrietta and Belinda have talked about are going to be really powerful in those first 5 years. So I kind of sometimes think of it like a plant. You know, you've got this amazing, beautiful seed that you get to grow, and it needs sunlight and it needs water. So, you know, this is kind of how I think of the baby brain when I'm thinking about nurturing it and encouraging it to grow and be the most amazing it can be. So success in school and life really starts, as I said, when that baby is born, and you have the opportunity to really help, as Belinda mentioned, be the architect of that baby brain. So between the ages of 0 to 5 and before formal schooling, you've got lots of opportunities to help your child develop the early literacy skills. So it's what children know about reading and writing before they learn to read and write. So that's where you come in. It's not about teaching them how to read or write. So instead, we're encouraging these pre-reading skills, and they're the building blocks of what children need in order to succeed when they go to school. So again, the more we can give your child or children a head start in those early years, the easier it's going to be, and the better an understanding they're going to have when they do go to school and start to read and write. So again, echoing Henrietta, we really do encourage families to do this in both English and mother language, and to find your way. Henrietta has given a lot of great tips, and again, we really just encourage you to really maintain that mother language in the foundation and the early years education and learning. It really talks about a sense of belonging, and so if you come from a different culture and speak a different mother language, that's going to be really important for your child as well, for their sense of identity, knowing who they are and feeling that sense of belonging. Next slide. So the way we develop those early literacy skills is via the 5 practices. So those 5 practices are to read, talk, sing, write, and play. So if some of this is a little bit too technical for you and maybe going over your head or a bit confusing, just bring it back down to basics. So all we're really encouraging families to do is to read, talk, sing, write, and play every day if you can do those things. And again, you're probably already doing all those things. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more as to the nitty-gritty, and again, they're really short videos, you can check out the Better Beginnings YouTube channel. The link is just there. And we're just going to give you a little bit more of an explanation as to why those 5 practices are really great for your baby, your baby's brain and your child. So when you do those things, you'll be developing those literacy skills that you can see there on my slide, those pre-literacy skills. And for anyone interested, what those pre-literacy skills are is vocabulary, which is knowing lots of different words. Again, it's said that it's really great for children to go to school with a certain number of words already in their vocabulary. The more you read, the more they're going to know. Background knowledge. Again, once again, this is about knowing about the world around them. So when you, for example, you perhaps read a book and the child goes on a bit of adventure, travels around the world, children are learning about the world, different countries, and then down the track when they go to school, it's going to be really helpful for them to have that background knowledge as an example. Print awareness, again, that's knowing that print is all around, using books, the different structures of the books, knowing that menus, signs, and recognizing what they are and what their purpose is. Again, that's really important. Phonological awareness, so that's all about sounds, hearing, making sounds, and knowing that those sounds then create words, and they have meaning. And then lastly, letter knowledge. So that's all about shapes, letters, uppercase, lowercase, and once again, that they make sounds, they formulate words, and those words can have meaning. So a child that is read to for 30 minutes every day has been fed around 900 hours of literacy nutrition. How amazing is that? So just read, I think it's really easy in this day and age to be busy. Parents, there's more demands on us than ever before. So, today I just really wanted to come here and remind you that it is actually a really important thing to do with your child every day when they're young and that baby's growing. And again, I think of myself and my children now, and, I wish I'd read even more because I just know how powerful and beneficial it is. So it's never too late. My own kids are 11 and 12. And even if you're joining us on this webinar and you have older children, their brains are actually still growing. Belinda, I think you might have mentioned previously that the brain is not fully developed until around the age of 20. Is that right?
Actually 25 to 27. And in fact, reading aloud with your older kids is a beautiful way to keep that connection going, or sharing reading together. It's a great idea. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, exactly. So, my husband's often reading with my son in bed at night. It's a lovely, special moment and connection that we love to do. And I'm regularly reading. So I'll read the chapter books for my older children. I'll read slightly longer novels where there's more words on the page, and it can be a bit daunting for them. So my daughter in particular really likes it when I read those, when we co-read those together. And sometimes I'll have it so that she can see the words, and sometimes she just listens as she drifts off to sleep. But again, it's a really special moment. And look, on that note, it's really important, and I think Henrietta touched on it, it's really important as well for your children to see that you're a reader too, or that you're engaged with print media. So whether it's you're interested in magazines, or perhaps brochures or novels or newspapers, that's a really good thing to model to children as well, so they have a really positive attitude to reading, because again, that's really going to help them later on in life. And the last message, which is the slide, which is up here, is that we want to highlight the amazing resource you all have access to in your communities, which is your local public library. Now, we may have some people watching back who are not near a local public library. Perhaps you might be remote or regional and it might not be quite as easy to access. So there is a lot that you can access with the State Library of Western Australia's website, and also local public library websites. You can check the one that would be in your region. And again, all families in Western Australia, every West Australian can get themselves a free library card. Your baby can get a library card from 0 years old. The day that they are born, you can in fact set them up with their own library card. I really love that, because then I can get my books and then I can get the books for baby. And so we'd really encourage you to get that organized. And, with that, you get access to a wide variety of books, other materials, all in different formats and in different languages as well. As Belinda highlighted on the chat, her child is accessing some of the State Library resources with books being read in other languages. So there's lots and lots of great resources there. So I encourage you to check that out. Public libraries also have some great free events for you to join. And again, it's going to really support you with those 5 practices, the read, talk, sing, write, and play. So public libraries have rhyme time sessions and story time sessions as a minimum generally, but many public libraries are going well above and beyond that and putting on so many events, especially for the 0 to 5 age range, because we know that that's such an important age for the baby brain, but also for older children as well, to really nurture and continue that love of reading. And lastly, again, especially for anyone regional or remote, or just for that great accessibility, in particular for the early childhood, just back one, sorry, Belinda. If you go to the Better Beginnings website, we do have some quick links there to the different e-resources available. So please do feel free to check out the Better Beginnings website as well as the State Library website. Check out that e-resources page. And again, I'm also very happy to receive any questions on the chat or queries via email after you've watched this webinar. So that message, here we've got some beautiful photos of different families doing those literacy practices where I work here at the State Library and in the Story Place. So that's my just key takeaway message for today. If you remember nothing else from my little section, please remember to read, talk, sing, write, and play with your child every day. And the photo in the middle there is actually my niece. So even though that's not my child, whenever I do spend time with her, I love a great way for me to connect with her is singing nursery rhymes. And I often play peekaboo with her, hide and seek, and read her stories as well. So again, if you're interacting with other children in your family, that's a great way that you can, support their brain development and have a beautiful, special connection with them as well. So thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jen. So now we're going to cease the recording in a moment and have some Q&A with anyone who's here at the recording today. And just to let you know again that we'd love to hear from you, hear how experiments go with these ideas. You've got all of the information when we send out the PowerPoint presentation. And finally, just to say thank you to you parents, hardworking parents, for all that you do for your little ones. It's really important work. And thank you so much for carving out this time to listen today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
For
everyone.
joining us.